Today we're exploring something that affects far more people than you might think: anxiety attacks, and more specifically, why they so often appear at the precise moment your identity begins to shift. Most people imagine anxiety attacks as random storms that appear out of nowhere. But in my experience as a therapist working extensively with the inner child, the inner critic, and identity formation, these episodes are rarely random. They're signals, messages from a deeper part of you asking to be heard. Today I want to help you understand why anxiety attacks emerge, what they're trying to tell you about who you are, and how you can begin to respond with clarity, compassion, and self-leadership. So when someone experiences an anxiety attack, the focus naturally shifts to the symptoms: the racing heart, the tight chest, the sense of losing control. But beneath those symptoms lies something more fundamental: a disruption or uncertainty in your sense of self. You see, your identity isn't a fixed object. It's a living psychological structure created through childhood experiences, relational patterns, adaptation, and survival strategies. When that structure becomes shaky, anxiety steps forward as the nervous system's way of saying, something inside you no longer fits with who you are becoming. This is why anxiety often intensifies during life transitions: a career change, a child leaving home, a shift in relational dynamics, or when someone else in the family grows, heals, or finds their voice. It's not the external change that creates the panic. It's the internal reorganization that the change demands. When an anxiety attack hits, it's rarely your adult who is frightened. It's the younger part of you, your inner child, who once learned that safety depended on performance, compliance, calmness, or invisibility. That child still carries old fears, old unmet needs, old patterns of self-protection. In therapy, I often see anxiety as the moment when the inner child senses that its old strategies no longer work and has no idea what to replace them with. So the alarm bells ring, and not to punish you, but to protect you. This means we must stop treating anxiety attacks as enemies and begin seeing them as communications. Of course, the inner child is only half the story. The other voice that surges during an anxiety attack is the inner critic, the internalized echo of early unhelpful parenting, social pressures, and childhood expectations. The critic says things like, "You should be coping better. Don't let anybody see you like this. Hold it together." And these messages aren't new, they're remembered. They are old survival rules resurfacing when the identity structure feels insecure. Anxiety intensifies not because you are weak, but because these two internal voices, the inner child who fears and the inner critic who demands, collide inside you. The adult self becomes squeezed out of the conversation. Many anxiety attacks happen when someone begins to step away from a role they've played their whole life. Perhaps they were the achiever, maybe the fixer, or the rescuer, or the calm one, the dependable one, the one who never showed emotion. When that role stops making sense or stops being needed, there's a vacuum, a loss of familiar structure. And in that vacuum, the old coping mechanisms fight for relevance. The nervous system asks, who am I without that role? And the body doesn't yet know the answer. Anxiety fills the gap where identity hasn't yet been rebuilt. This is why understanding your identity is not optional in healing anxiety, it is central to it. So what do we do with this? Well, the first step is compassionate awareness, recognizing that the anxiety is your younger self trying to protect you using, frankly, outdated strategies. The second step is to reparent your inner child, offering reassurance, such as, you're not alone, we can handle this now. You don't have to perform to be safe. You can feel scared and still be okay. And the third step is strengthening the inner nurturing parent, the part of you capable of soothing, grounding, and leading. And finally, we rebuild identity, not from old childhood roles, but from values, needs, boundaries, emotional truth, beliefs, and authentic self-expression. When adults reconnect with their inner child and quieten the inner critic, the anxiety attacks reduce because the internal system no longer feels leaderless. A new self emerges and comes forward, one that is anchored, coherent, and safe in its own presence. If you're experiencing anxiety attacks, you are not broken and you are simply not failing. You are in a process of psychological reorganization. Horrible though it feels, a profound invitation to step into a deeper, more grounded identity. Anxiety isn't the problem, it's a signal. And when you learn to listen, to soothe, and lead that younger part of you, something extraordinary happens. You recover your sense of self. You build a more authentic identity, and your nervous system finally stops fighting a battle it learned to fight decades ago. If this resonates, feel free to explore more of my work around identity, the inner child and the healing inner critic. And remember, you're not alone in this. Your true self is waiting to be reclaimed. If you'd like help with this, visit my website, book a free discovery call. Let's see what's possible.